Right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation. Happy Saturday to everybody out there watching. CP from Knicks Fan TV. My man JL's from Nick of Time Show. JL's another edition of the quarantine stream. Today we got company, man. We've extended the olive branch. We've offered the peace treaty. We've brought an insider from that team that plays in Brooklyn. Only because we need answers, Jails.
Yeah, we need answers. So play
Only
nice.
because
Guys.
we
Play
need
nice.
answers. So we playing nice today. Welcome our guest. He covers the Nets for Nets Daily. Also, his own podcast called The Brooklyn Way. Anthony Puccio, a.k.a. Pooch. Pooch, what's going on, man? How you doing, bro?
Guys, I appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said from the beginning, I come in peace.
It's all right. It's all good, brother. We welcome you in. We welcome you in. You know, you might not be able to see my shirt right now, but listen, just in case things go off the rails, listen, we ready to go, man. Don't worry about it.
Hey, man, I'm always ready. It's all love, like I said.
All right, no doubt, man. So, a couple reasons why I want to have you on today. Definitely want to touch on Kenny Atkinson. It's said that Kenny Atkinson has been gaining some steam within the ranks at MSG. So definitely want to get your thoughts on Kenny, and also wanted to talk about the fallout from last night's players only conference call and this slander that Kyrie Irving has been getting. So definitely want to get your takes on both of those. On the Atkinson topic, he was fired from the Nets earlier this season. Recently, in a podcast that Shams was on, he mentioned a couple things that had trickled out in terms of what happened with Kenny. There was questions about his offensive system, the X's and O's. There was questions around DeAndre Jordan starting. He had some issues with it. And then the KD factor, KD saying that he didn't feel like he was a championship coach. You've been covering this team for some years now. What is your take on all of this? What is your take on the Atkinson fallout? Yeah, he's speechless.
You lose him?
There we go. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
We lost you for a second, but go ahead.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but, covering this team for 7 years now, and this is, seeing what Kenny Atkinson had built. When the Nets hired him and Sean Marks, it was clear this agenda to push this culture. Hardworking, blue collar, high character, all this stuff, like this culture that Kenny built. And you guys know, he turned a 20-win team into a 42-win team with very little talent. And while this was all going on, Kenny did help and was integral in building this culture that they did preach for so long. And
we kind of lost him.
All going on, what I was hearing was that it was DeAndre Jordan not happy about being in the starting lineup, like you mentioned that Shams reported. It was Kyrie Irving who was unhappy with the offense. It was KD who was unhappy with the offense and said that he wasn't a championship coach. Now, I look at this and I say, I understand the difference between a superstar culture and the culture that they had built, but the Nets don't get to this point without Kenny Atkinson. And these guys didn't even play a single minute for this man.
Right. It just seems to me like they didn't really even give him a chance.
Yeah.
No, not one chance at all. And you look back and you take media day comments with a grain of salt. But let me tell you something. KD stands up on that pedestal and he starts raving like anything. And
we lost him.
We lost him.
Frozen. Pooch still there?
You guys got me?
Yeah, I got
yes,
you.
Sir.
Got you.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
I kind of saw like Kenny Atkinson, and not like to put it this way, but I saw Kenny Atkinson with Sean Marks almost like Eric Spoelstra to Pat Riley in the sense that I thought they were kind of in this together, like they'll work through this. This year was kind of a lost year, but to me, it just felt hypocritical for Sean Marks to be preaching culture, and then completely veer off from everything that he had preached over the years and did not practice that as soon as these guys came into the building. Now, again, I understand a superstar culture, understand the things that change when you have a guy like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in the building. But the only reason why the Brooklyn Nets were in this position to begin with was because of Kenny Atkinson. So to see these guys be the main factors as to why he got fired without playing a single minute, it tells me a lot about the Nets and the direction that they're headed in. And really, it makes me question who's really calling the shots. Because when Sean Marks was calling the shots, the Nets were in pretty good shape. Now that somebody else, might be behind the scenes. They gutted the team last year. They fired the head coach that got them here without playing a single minute together.
It's fishy, man.
One thing to me is that if they trade Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, the guys that made up the foundation that Sean Marks built around the surrounding cast, I think you have to say that, we went from a healthy culture in Brooklyn to one that could be considered toxic. Something that they didn't embrace Brooklyn for all the reasons that they said they did.
Right.
Rather, let's come here, let's empty house and turn it into our own. But they didn't need to turn it into their own because Brooklyn was in good shape. So I felt like Kenny got a raw deal. I thought he was a scapegoat for a lot of other issues that were going on in Brooklyn. He was not perfect. He was not perfect. His X and O's weren't.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's get to the X's and O's because I've heard a lot of Nets fans had a gripe with him in terms of his in-game adjustments, not properly handling his rotations, especially late in games. How did you see it?
Look, I think that Kenny was a very hands-on coach. He did things the way he wanted to do it, and he wasn't going to let anybody else tell him otherwise. And I thought that was great because it worked for the first couple of years. Now, again, KD wasn't on the court this year, so he was forced to play guys that were maybe playing out of position. You look at Taurean Prince, he's not going to be starting when KD comes back. You look at Kyrie, he's in the lineup all year long. It wasn't like, he played 20 games. It's not like he was playing 20 straight games and they had some continuity to build off. It was just very sporadic. Play 5 games, out the next 10. Play 5. So there was no continuity. And again, I understand, like, Kenny with the X and O's, he was a great out of timeout coach. Like I tell you, and that's something Nets fans can't even dispute. He was very good with that. I think his rotations were questionable at times, but he never really had much talent to begin with.
Right.
So it was almost like, what do you want the guy to do? He's squeezing the most out of what he has. The one problem I had with Kenny was just the stubbornness. And by that I mean, he had a game plan. It was we're gonna run and gun, shoot a ton of 3-pointers. We're gonna play the modern style of basketball. But the Nets just didn't have the personnel to fit that. Taurean Prince shouldn't be playing the floor. Quincy Acey shouldn't be the starting 4 2 years ago.
We know him well. We know Quincy.
He was bombing on us. That was a crazy part. He was bombing on us.
Yeah, and look, no diss against Q because he fit the system. He did hit the 3-ball, but Kenny's got to adjust. You got DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen. Why not try and start them together? Why not try and change things up? So my thing was like his game plan. He didn't really change. It was kind of the same thing. If there was a problem in the first half, it was like, what are the adjustments? Shoot more 3. We're just going to keep sticking to the game plan.
Right.
And I'm cool with sticking to the game plan. I think, if you veer far off, then you have some problems. But you have to adjust as a coach. And that was his biggest problem, is that he didn't adjust. He shorted minutes for guys. D'Angelo Russell averaged like 28 minutes in the playoffs last year.
And D'Lo, D'Lo was quoted as not so complimentary of Kenny, basically saying that he didn't know what he had. So D'Lo wasn't really feeling the Kenny compliments. What do you think about that?
Well, Gus, I appreciate D'Lo. I think I saw him turn for I feel like I almost saw like a kid turn into a man when he came to Brooklyn. And I think that Kenny Atkinson had a big role to do with that. I kind of see D'Angelo Russell's comments also as hypocritical because that D'Angelo wanted to come back to Brooklyn so bad under head coach Kenny Atkinson. Who made him that max contract? Who turned him into an all-star? Who gave him that opportunity? I understand the circumstances. It was because Karis LeVert got hurt and this, that, and the other thing. But call a spade here. He gave D'Angelo the chance, and D'Angelo made the most of it. It's a credit to both of them. To kind of go out after when Kenny's at his lowest, he gets fired and this, that, and the other thing. I kind of thought that was immature, D'Lo. I thought he kind of reverted back to his past. He kind of would have just been better off keeping his hands off because, in my opinion, at the end of the day, Kenny made him a better basketball player.
Very interesting. Before you go, JL, salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. We're chatting with Anthony Puccio. He writes for Nets Daily and covers the Nets as well on his podcast, The Brooklyn Way. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. JL, go ahead with your question.
No, I was just thinking, like, do you think that has anything to do with him just being moved at that point and maybe feeling like they didn't really want him there because they wanted to go, the big game hunting with Kyrie? Like, I wonder if that has
probably sour grapes, right? Because he ended up getting moved.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like it just the comments from D'Angelo just felt a little petty to me. And again, like I really do think highly of D'Angelo. I think he matured a lot, but I felt like he took a step back and was kind of using, that moment to kind of blame Kenny as a scapegoat. Now, covering the team, being close with the guys last year, I know D'Lo had issues with not playing in the fourth quarter, and rightfully so. He was upset. He was upset that Spencer was getting time over him, this, that, and the other thing. But here's the thing. He proved everybody wrong. He won. At the end of the day, he got his money. Maybe he didn't win because he didn't come back to Brooklyn where he wanted to be. But, it just felt petty to me. And, like, you make a great point that maybe he was sour about them going after the big names. But maybe he had more of a gripe with Sean Marks than he should with Kenny Atkinson. It just felt like they were using Kenny as a scapegoat when the guy really did fantastic things for the organization and all the players involved too.
That is very interesting, man. And you mentioned D'Lo's progress. I also look at a guy like a Dinwiddie, his progression. I look at Joe Harris, where he came from Caris LeVert as well. What do you feel like? What do you think about Atkinson's role as a developmental coach? How do you think he did there?
I look, I mean, and you even said it, I think that Kenny Atkinson is perfect in a role where if in context with the Knicks, I said this from day one. When he got fired, I said the Knicks are the perfect destination for him because you have to look at RJ Barrett as your D'Angelo Russell. You have to look at Mitch Robinson as your Jared Allen, but maybe even better. You know what I mean? Like where the Knicks are right now is where the Nets were when they hired Kenny Atkinson, except they're in a better position.
True.
Yeah.
The Nets because they have more talent. They have draft picks.
They got the assets.
They have the assets. If James Dolan could kind of just wait 2 years, just let Kenny do his thing for 2 years, you know what I'm saying, and just let him be on the court with those guys. That was the biggest thing with Kenny was that he instilled confidence with them, and he was on the court with these guys every practice, sweating himself, running up and down, doing laps with them, doing everything that he possibly could. Him and his assistant coaching staff, that was their biggest claim to fame, and that's why the Nets right now want to keep Kenny's assistant coaching staff because they know how important that is for these guys to be out there on the floor with them. This whole staff was basically guys that had played at a high level. You look at Jacques Vaughn, you look at Brett Brellmeyer, Adam Harrington. These guys are all guys that played overseas, that played in the NBA. So he had guys that were on the court with these guys, helping them, yes, develop and buy into what he was trying to preach, which was confidence. Yo, you missed those first 8 shots. I want you to keep shooting if you're open. Like, no BS. Just play your game. And I thought Kenny did a great job with that. You look at a guy like I almost said Quincy Acey. You look at a guy like Caris LeVert. You look at a guy like D'Lo. Even older guys like DeMar Carroll, like he got better under Kenny. And I just look at these examples. Spencer Dinwiddie, who I gotta admit, I was super disappointed to hear him come out and be one of the people that had beef with Kenny Atkinson's system because Spencer Dinwiddie was in the G League and Atkinson and Marks plucked him out and turned him into a 20-6 guy. I mean, you don't get that opportunity without Kenny Atkinson believing in you, and to see Spencer kind of jump on the train with Kyrie and KD just kind of seemed fugazi to me. It just felt like he was jumping on the side that I don't really know how to put it, but it just seems wrong because without Kenny Atkinson, I don't know if Spencer Dinwiddie is who he is today. I don't even know if he's in the league without Kenny Atkinson. So you look at all the guys that he developed, they turned into trade pieces and put themselves in the position today to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. You can't dispute what Kenny Atkinson did with this team was borderline like miraculous. A 20-win team to a 42-win team last year. And they gave the Sixers a dog fight with basically very little to work with.
It's a true story, man. True story. JLC, you had a question?
No, I'm just if what he says is true. I mean, from what I've seen, we've seen these videos of Mitchell Robinson shooting threes, and we know how tentative Frank has been, even though he's taking some baby steps recently. Someone like Kenny Atkinson who can kind of, give him a little vote of confidence and encourage him to shoot more, I think could be good for us coming into next season. So I hope we give everybody a fair shot and get like a real interview for Kenny and Mike and whoever, and not just hand the keys over to Tom just because, they cool boys from 96 and they share a beer together. Like, I hope they really, the Knicks really do their due diligence here.
I just think if they go Thibodeau, I think they're making the same mistakes as the past, trying to rush something that isn't there. When if you get Atkinson, you could, again, maybe not, you don't have to do exactly what the Nets did, but something similar. And you give it 1-2 years, let them develop these guys. And let me tell you something, guys. Like knowing Kenny, he loves Frank. And the Nets have been trying to get Frank for years.
Frank unleashed. Some people in chat might not like that, but I'm with it. I'm on board. Let's go. Get Frank activated next season.
Kenny becomes coach of the Knicks. Frank is going to be a stud. He's going to be minutes.
Frank Hive, stand up. Come on.
Frank Hive. I don't know. Who is the Frank Hive in the chat? If you're in the chat, give me a hashtag Frank Hive. We might have just lost a couple of viewers, but don't worry.
We're going to bench LaMelo. We're going to bench LaMelo. Start Frank.
Keep going. But no, I agree with you, man. I think Tibbs. I wouldn't mind either one, but I think Tibbs, you're kind of sending the signal that you're going to try to fast track this rebuild. And then I think that's when things get a little dicey. With Kenny, I'd rather stick with the slow grind in development style. Maybe you want to bring Miller back for his defensive philosophy, bring Miller on as the associate head coach, and you have two guys with a developmental focus. I think that would be a solid team.
Without a doubt. And like I said, I think with Tibbs, I think you would be rushing the product. I think you'd be making the same mistake if Dolan could just be patient for 2 years and just let Kenny, if he does get hired, just let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Do what he did in Brooklyn. Like, you're going to see a guy like R.J. Barrett turn into a stud. And he's going to be a stud no matter what. I think whoever coaches him. I think very highly of R.J. as does everybody else. But I think, Kenny Atkinson, you look at the point guards that he's worked with in the past and the guards in general, just ball handlers, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, D'Angelo Russell. Even you look at a guy like Chris Chiozza that came off the bench this year for the Nets, like he turned nothing into something out of a lot of these guys. And, I look at R.J. Barrett, I look at Frank, and I even, even Mitch, like you're gonna see improvement from these guys. You're gonna see them playing a style of ball that they've never really played before. But I think that they'll excel in that style of ball because they'll have the confidence, they'll have that development to back them up. I think Tibbs would be a big mistake just because, again, the free agent class this year really isn't great. Anybody that you sign would be really just a Band-Aid. Whereas you do have a foundation right now. You have a good young core, even like Kevin Knox who could play the stretch four. I feel like Kenny Atkinson could get the most out of him. And again, you have picks. You have a top pick this year. The Nets didn't have that. They didn't have that luxury. Kenny Atkinson started. Jeremy Lin was the best player, man. Jeremy Lin was like
we know all about him. We know all about him. We know all about him.
Anthony Bennett was coming off the bench, man. like the team Justin was starting. You see what he started with the Nets and what he turned them into. And obviously a credit to Sean Marks. But I tip my hat to Kenny Atkinson because he turned this organization around. Like, that guy was in the trenches with these guys. He woke up at 4 a.m. every single day. After game day, after practice, whatever it might be, he was watching film on his stationary bike, watching film every single day, trying to find a way to make these guys better, and it worked.
That's interesting, man. And we're talking to Anthony Puccio of Nets Daily and the Brooklyn Way. Salute to everybody in the chat on this Saturday. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys.
Sure.
Pooch, we're going to be watching what the Nets do very closely this offseason. Not because we're interested in whatever superstar you guys are trying to get with Kyrie and KD, but we're trying to see if Joe Harris will be available.
Yeah, shake that loose.
What do you think about that, man? Is it possible that Joe Harris shakes loose in the Nets' pursuit of a third star to put with Kyrie and KD?
I think they're going to do everything they can to try and re-sign him, but at the same time, I think Joe's value is higher than I mean, look, he took a discount last time he re-signed with Brooklyn. Now the guy last year shot 44% from three. Obviously, he's going to be very coveted around the league. I don't know what his asking price is going to be, but I have to assume that it's going to be somewhere from 16 to 18 mil. And I don't know.
From what I'm reading, around 16.
Yeah. And it's earned. He's not just a three-point shooter. He's a damn gritty basketball player. He could drive to the hole. He turned into a pretty solid all-around basketball player. I'm not really sure if the Nets are going to be able to retain him.
Could that put them in potential luxury tax implications
absolutely.
there?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, Joe Harris has been the motor to the Brooklyn Nets offense. Everything that they've predicated their offense on has been relying around Joe Harris. And now with Kenny gone and me being unsure with Jacques Vaughn has a legitimate shot. But whoever is coaching this team is going to play to the way that KD and Kyrie want to play. And that might not suit Joe Harris's game style. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I almost feel like Sean Marks absolutely wants to bring him back. But if Sean Marks isn't making the shots, isn't calling the shots, if KD and Kyrie are, the way we've kind of seen this past year, are they going to pay 16 to 18 mil for Joe Harris and dip into the luxury taxes when they could just use that money and try and go get a third star?
Yeah. See, I think that's where the Knicks can come in. With that cap, JL. So, I mean, if you got to overpay for him, it might be worth the pursuit, man.
Maybe. I mean, that too, and DeAndre Jordan, they kind of paid a little for DeAndre Jordan. That might have hurt him a little bit as well.
Yeah. All that sacrifice for DeAndre might come back to hurt you, Pooch.
Look, you're talking about Ed. You could bring Ed Davis last year, who was a great culture guy, good on the court, good mentor for Jared Allen. They could have kept him on the cheap. They could have kept a guy like Dudley or DeMarre Carroll, good culture guys that were well in the system. Now with Joe Harris, if Kenny Atkinson signs, if the Knicks sign Kenny Atkinson, Joe Harris is Kenny Atkinson's poster boy. Like if Kenny Atkinson was a basketball player, it would be Joe Harris, baby. It would be perfect if they signed Kenny. I could totally see Joe Harris staying in New York, getting that paycheck, and going right where he belongs with Kenny Atkinson, where he's appreciated. You got to remember, he was the towel boy for Kyrie back in Cleveland. I don't know what the respect level is for him here in Brooklyn. I know the guys that have been here respect the heck out of Joe Harris. But he made his claim to fame under Kenny Atkinson. I don't know how these guys feel about him, the new guys feel about him, but I know Kenny Atkinson loves that guy like his own son. You know what I'm saying? So I think he made his claim to fame.
Let's go to the phones. Lambo, turn your phone down. You're on live, man. Lambo wants to talk about the Atkinson situation.
Yo, what's good, bro?
What's good, bro? Just turn your volume down on your TV or whatever you're watching the video on.
Yeah, I turned it down already. You can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Loud and clear, bro. Go ahead.
Yo, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, man. I feel like we should give Kenny 2-3 years. Like, he's already perfect for the young core, for development. Let him develop the young core, get the pieces moving. Of course, we still got to get this draft right because there's so much moving pieces that need to come together. But even from the bottom floor, I feel like Kenny Atkinson is the perfect hire for us to build a foundation on. And then even if the 2-3 years is not perfect, I feel like he's the perfect person to get us on the right route to having a solidified organization on the floor. You know what I mean? As a team and a basketball team, because I feel like at the Knicks, we finally figured out that the young core is where we're going. At least he can get the players where they need to go. And formations, defense, offense, so many different things. I think that he'll be able to figure out a lot of moving pieces we need moving forward. And if those 2-3 years work out, move forward with them. If not, we can move with anybody else.
Got it. Appreciate the call, man. Listen, I think, again, like I was saying, I think timelines-wise, I'd rather stick to a long-term rebuild, get the horses in place. We're getting the front office together, and everybody build this thing together, man. Build this thing together and establish a culture, a foundation, and sustainability, a sustainable rebuild.
And if you look what Leon is kind of doing, it seems like, if you don't look at the coach, it seems like he's building out a front office full of guys who can get scouts, get young talent in here. So if you're going in a direction anyway, you might as well complete that process and bring in a coach or keep a coach, Mike Miller, who was known for developing young guys and cultivating that talent.
Facts. And when you mentioned the scout, we just signed a young prodigy. Don't be jealous, Pooch, but supposedly we got a whiz kid scout. His name is Alex Klein. JL's 26 years old. It was a scout with the New Orleans Pelicans. Came fresh out of college, out of Syracuse. Lifelong scout from 16 years old. He's been scouting high school players, JL.
That's crazy.
Back in Philly. Known to be a hard worker, first guy in, last guy out type of deal. He started a blog scouting young high school players such as Karl Anthony Towns, straight from the AAU level on through. And I think from what I read, his father and Leon Rose may have went to law school together as well, so there may have been a connection there. But yeah, young Alex Klein is a new scout under Walt Perrin and Scott Perry's team, man. So as you said, Rose, we wanted Rose to build his team properly with guys with experience, but also with sharp young minds. And I think this kid falls into that bucket to continue to learn under Walt Perrin, who's a 20-year seasoned veteran as a GM, as a scout. And then also bring a new twist to things. You know what I mean? From a younger generation, a younger perspective. So I like that tandem of old and young.
Yeah, man. I like that bridging the gap thing, because if you look at everybody who's on the staff, even Scott Perry, who some people hate, everyone here has the same kind of resume where they've built a lot of relationships around the league, B, are known for being meticulously hard workers, and they have just good relationships. Generally, they're just well liked in general, unlike the guy Phil, who kind of messed everything up on his head. And this kid Alex is kind of fits that same pedigree, even as a high schooler. It's crazy to read how many people love this kid and how many relationships he's built already. And it seems like he still has, the connections with the AAU in high school. So he might be early on certain people, much like Perrin and Perry. So. Relationships.
It started with Leon. He's been known as a guy with a ton of relationships. Scott Perry been in the game for a while, relationship builder. Walt Perrin, same way. And now they're saying this kid, again, he's starting 10 years in the game from the AAU level to the college levels and so on. He's a relationship builder as well. They say you could see him, talking to the various executives before the game and just putting that preparation to it. So, again, I'm going to keep an open mind to it. But so far, I like how Leon Rose is putting this team together, man, for sure.
I was down him when I was like, who is this kid? I don't know. But he's making some nice moves. Yeah. If he nails the coach, then I'm going to feel a lot better about this Leon.
Well, listen, you're going to have a team of scouts, right? You're going to have a team of people. But again, you bring in a Walt Perrin, you bring in a kid with his resume, with Alex Klein's type of resume, and I think you should be on your way in terms of formulating that team. So I like the approach. At the very least, like the approach. So to everybody in the chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP from Knicks Fan TV, my man JL's from Nick of Time Show. Special guest. This is the once in a while peace treaty, JLS, that we extend to our friends over there in Brooklyn. Welcome, Pooch.
Across the bridge, even though I live in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you live in Brooklyn, JLs, but for all intents and purposes, there's a bridge between Nets and Knicks.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Let's talk about this fallout from this conference call last night, man. So, NBA's been planning this restart for July 31st. Last week, NBA Players Association and the executive committee voted 21-0 to agree to the restart at the bubble site. A lot of things going on in the country since then. Obviously, all the civil unrest with George Floyd, the police murders, Breonna Taylor, and so on and so forth. That has impacted all of us. In particular those within the African-American community, in particular the 80% population of the NBA. So there's a lot at in play here and a lot of emotions going on, JLs, as we said. So Kyrie now holds his conference call last night with his peers in the league. There's some WNBA players there as well to kind of air out their grievances, air out their issues with the restart, and also talk about how they can make a change in terms of social justice and so on. Now, it seems like Woj kind of took this thing out of context, and he throws out the Kyrie is a disruptor article which then sets off a Twitter storm. Yeah, last night Twitter was just in a buzz. Now Kyrie's trending topic because Kyrie basically said, you know, I'll throw this all away to go back to the social justice. And I would add, people were saying that Kyrie was basically advocating on this call for his colleagues to not play in the restart and shut it all down. And so this created a whole storm. Kyrie's selfish, you know, people bringing out the flat earth type of thing. It turned into a mess.
You know what's coming.
It turned into a mess, man. Now, Pooch, you were taking what was to task on that on Twitter. I mean, what did you think about the comments and everything that transpired last night?
You know, the disturber part, I kind of, you know, I feel like they were trying to villainize Kyrie Irving.
I agree.
You know, I thought that was totally out of line. I got to be honest with you. And people do tell me, you know, disputer is a compliment. But to me, it just felt like it was kind of stirring the pot a little bit. But
yeah,
look, you know, Kyrie Irving is a VP of the NBPA, and me as a man, how could I judge another man on what he believes strongly about? And if he is voicing himself for people in the NBA and the WNBA who weren't really heard, then, you know, all the power to him. I think that if it was anybody else, there would be less scrutiny around this. But Kyrie Irving, yes, he has had a past of obviously being a disruptor for teams and things like that. But in a case like this, where a man is speaking out for the better of look, not only himself, but other people and what they believe in strongly, I think it's hard to really criticize him fully. I understand it's frustrating. We all want the NBA to come back. But look, at the end of the day, guys, and I'm sure you guys could agree with me. I mean, there are bigger things in life going on than basketball right now. So
it's deep.
How am I gonna judge another man for something he feels strongly about? And I think we all feel strongly about. And again, him being the one to speak out for people who might not have had their voices heard, I just kind of feel like he was used as a scapegoat. You know, whether you agree with it or not, he has every right to do that. Just because LeBron doesn't like it or the establishment, as Woj quoted it, it just feels like, you know, what if somebody else was doing it? What if Gordon Hayward was saying that? Would we be calling him the disruptor?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, and you know what? Like there is a conflict here because we were close to, you know, we are very close to basketball resuming, and we all want that. And you have Garrett Temple, who's also a VP of the NBPA.
He's in.
Who's on Kyrie's team. They're boys, and he has a totally different stance on things. And I think it's important to respect both of these men's opinions and their perspectives and take it for what it is and try and meet in the middle somewhere. I think the Kyrie slander is a little –
it's over the top.
Yes. And, like, let me tell you something. Like, I've disagreed with a lot of things that Kyrie has done this past season, and even in his whole career, I've disagreed with a lot of things that he's done. But this is something that I can't really fault him for, especially as a VP of the NBPA. How could I fault another man for standing up for what he believes in? And something that is very, very more important than basketball, guys. You know,
JL, I can't listen. I'm with Pooch. I disagree with a lot of things that Kyrie says. I give him credit though. Listen, he says a lot of weird things that we would consider weird or unconventional, unorthodox, but I respect him in that very same regard because he's not afraid to stand on his own too, and he's not afraid to go against the grain. I might not agree with it, but I respect him in that regard. Now, on this topic on social justice, I'm with him 100%. And I think they took the whole thing out of context where I think a lot of people came away with what happened on that conference call as Kyrie advocating for them to not play. And I don't think that was the situation. I think what he said, and Chris Haynes kind of clarified it. Kyrie said, I'm with you if you want to play, but I don't think they should be playing. You know what I mean? He's not all the way in it. He's not going to be playing anyway. He's injured. So all he basically said was, on this conference call, we're trying to come together as a one unit, right? Mm-hmm. This is a union. This is a players association. We're trying to come together as one, and you guys also voice your opinions on this. But he was basically saying, I'm not all for it, but I will support it if you guys are in. But everybody took it as, Kyrie's trying to overthrow this whole thing, which I didn't think that was fair to him. And it was too much character assassination for me, JLs.
Yeah, sometimes when you have a reputation, it doesn't really matter what you say. The targets are really on your back, and you're kind of just branded as being outlandish. Even if you're saying the most PC, media trained comment, it can be skewed into a certain type of way. And the reality of this too is there is really not really a good answer here, to be honest, because there's pros and cons for every step you take. If they don't go back, NBA players lose money, the NBA loses money, and there's people who want money and they want to play. And if you do play, like, people can get sick because the Disney bubble isn't really a bubble, really.
Facts. Yes. Yeah. And
there's no real clear-cut direction.
It's crazy, bro. And you mentioned the financial ramifications of not playing is tremendous. Listen to this. Let's say they decide to cut the cord, right? I'm just pulling this. This was from Woj's article. If they decided to cut the cord, the NBA can call what's called a force majeure. This is a legal term, which means basically they wouldn't be able to satisfy their contractual obligations due to unforeseen circumstances, and they could use COVID as a cause for that, right? They're already losing $300 million in salary. If the NBA called in that force majeure, every player would lose 1% of their salary for every game missed. That could total up to $1.2 billion. On top of that, if they call the force majeure, the NBA can tear up the collective bargaining agreement and try to renegotiate, which means you could have a lockout for next season, which they're already splitting the revenue 50-50. What Woj is speculating is that the NBA could use that opportunity to milk the players for more money and tilt the ratio to the NBA's favor. So you could have a lockout.
A lot on the line, man.
It's a lot on the line. And so when people are like, well, why did Kyrie vote yes last week? I think it was a unanimous vote because at first they're like, let's protect the money. It's a lot of players that need this money. You know what I mean? We talked to Langston Galloway a couple weeks ago, JLs. He's all for it. There's players like a Langston Galloway that need that money. You don't know how much longer he's going to be in the league. But I still think the grievances with, Melo said yesterday, he didn't have enough information on the bubble site. He's not sure. And then obviously with everything with the civil unrest, Lou Williams is like, why are we coming out to do this when there's so much other things going on in the world? So I think it's all understandable.
Yeah.
I think it's all understandable, man. It's crazy, bro.
It's crazy.
It's
I don't think you really villainize anybody for saying anything at this point.
You can't. You can't, bro. And I know the Kyrie thing is popular to pile up on him, but I can't. I can't get on him for that, man.
There's just so many moving parts, and we're in uncharted waters right now. So it's like, again, you have to take it. Every man that's in the NBA, every woman that's in the WNBA, you have to respect everybody's perspective and really, again, like I understand the economic and financial consequences if they don't play, but then there's the side where, are we doing what's right here? Should we maybe be focusing and prioritizing on things that are bigger than basketball? So again, it's like you said, it's hard to really say anybody's wrong because everybody's entitled to their own opinion and beliefs. And again, they're the ones that are putting themselves out there, not us. We're here talking about that doing it. So, like.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about these guys being holed up at Disney World, no family. They got to be bubbled up. They got to get tested every day. Now they're saying, JLs, that the support staff is not going to be isolated. So are they going to be tested every day? And now you got to stay at Disney World for 7 weeks. You can't even go to the parks, turkey legs ain't going to be so good in week 3, man. You know what I mean? It's going to get a little overrated, bro.
You can't go to Magic Mountain.
You know what I mean? You can't go to Magic whatever it's called. Mountain they got. Yeah, so I don't know. Melo's saying he's not so sure about it. Obviously, the Spider already had it, so he's not so sure.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard, I read someone that hit one of his baby mom passed away from it, so maybe he's not so sure. So I think what's going to end up happening is I think they are going to play, and I think there's going to be a lot of players that don't play.
Yeah.
The whole shit's gonna be watered down, man. I'm telling you, the whole thing's gonna be watered down. No
What a way.
fans in the stands.
Mm-hmm. What a way to end the season. I wanted the people with championship aspirations would be more motivated.
Oh, they all in. They're all in. Notice who wasn't on the call. LeBron wasn't on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what interesting though. You have Avery Bradley, who's a teammate of LeBron, who supported what Kyrie said. So you do have people even on the Lakers, and
True.
then you mentioned Lou Will on the Clippers. I mean, these are guys. Dwight Howard's on the Lakers, like the guys that they have a legitimate shot at winning a ring, and they're voicing out against what LeBron and a lot of the league wants to do, and that's resume. And again, I think some of them really do understand that maybe a watered down championship isn't worth, I guess, putting the rest of the issues that we have going on right now to the side. But again, it's intriguing to see, guys like Avery Bradley step up and speak out. I think it's crucial for guys like that. And again, I think you're going to see a lot of players just kind of sit out.
And Austin Rivers came out last night basically, addressing Kyrie's situation, saying we should be playing. He thinks it could be a welcome distraction for the communities as a way to keep, at-risk youth out of trouble. As a welcome distraction and so on and so forth. And then to allow the players that do need the money to get paid. So Austin Rivers is all in. He's all in the play. So we'll see, man. We'll definitely see, but this is unprecedented times. I will say that the one thing I do like is that what you're seeing from these players in terms of being concerned about what's going on in the country, I think is great. I think it's great to see. I think these guys are leading. This generation of athletes are leading, and they're willing to get out on the front lines and fight for social justice. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think you see LeBron just came out with his voters coalition, going to educate people on the voting process and talk about the voting suppression techniques that's going on around the country, which to me is a very real thing, no matter which side of the aisle you represent. And so that's what I like. I like the fact that they're trying to come together and really make an impact here. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what actions they take. But I think that the thought process is that this is going to be a movement and not just a moment in time like some of these other incidents have spawned on us. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Let's take another phone call on Knicks in Brooklyn. Let's go to JJ from Brooklyn in the building. How you feeling, bro?
Yo, what up? How's everyone doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
Good. I just actually wanted to make 2 quick points. One was, with all the, GMs we have now, assistant GMs and all the scouts we hired, who do you think has the most say in terms of, the Knicks draft and free agency? Obviously, Leon Rose is the president, but I think, I guess a bunch of different guys will have a little bit of say. And then I just want to make one quick draft point. I've been thinking about the draft a lot lately, and what I would do is I would try and trade down, even if we got, I know a lot of people love Anthony Edwards, but I don't think he's a fit next to RJ, because I just don't think he's a good enough shooter to be next to RJ. They both need the ball in their hands. Yeah. So why not trade down if we got like a top 5 pick and go to 12 and draft like a Naismith or a Vassell, and then trade back up from 27 using like a Knox maybe and a DSJ, and then the Clippers pick and draft like a Kira Lewis if he's there, like 17 or 18. What would you think about that? While you're getting like a future first round pick possibly in the deal and trade down too.
For sure. I mean, listen, it depends on when we pick in the lottery, right? Let's get to the lottery first, which I think is August 25th. Let's see where we pick and see where we end up. Obviously, if there's no shot at LaMelo and you're looking at, picking between 3rd and say 5th, 3 and 5, maybe they do entertain the possibility of trading down, JLs.
Yeah, I mean, if LaMelo's out the question, which I feel like everybody knows that we're probably targeting that, then I wouldn't mind trading down, maybe getting a Lewis. I definitely try to get a clear Lewis. But I kind of even like Killian too, so I still might keep it. We'll see.
Anything is possible, JJ, man. We got a couple months to pontificate, but anything is possible, man. On the front office thing, I think it's gonna be Leon's call. I think it's going to be Leon's call on the draft with Scott Perry and Perrin, adding their inputs. It'll be a team effort, but I think ultimately Leon will have to make the call.
I feel like it's going to be Scott Perry, Perrin. I feel like Perrin is the dark horse here. Because wasn't Perrin around before Scott Perry, kind of showing him something
at Detroit?
In Detroit,
yeah.
So even though Scott Perry technically might be higher on like the totem pole as far as who's in charge, I feel like Perrin might be like the dark horse of deciding what's going on, and he has the best track record to me, it seems.
Yeah. Certainly possible, man. Certainly possible. What goes on in the war room, but I think ultimately, Leon will take those recommendations, and I think he'll have to make the call. So we'll see how that goes, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We got almost 500 people watching, Jay Ellis. So salute to everybody watching on YouTube, on Facebook. Happy Saturday, everybody. We have Anthony Puccio from Nets Daily and Brooklyn Way joining us. Drop some dimes on the Kenny Atkinson situation and also on the Kyrie situation. Pooch, I'll swing it over to you, man, just to sign out. Let the fans know where they could find you. And, man, let the fans know what your Twitter handles and everything, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. Hey, Pooch on Twitter. I don't run the Nets Daily Twitter account, so I know you guys going back and forth with that. Mentor to me, but, again, like that, with all due respect, I don't run that account. I'm at A Pooch on Twitter. I'm at A Pooch on Instagram, Facebook. Look, man, I know I'm a Nets writer and things like that, and there's been some words said, the Geo thing, this, that, and the other thing, but I'm all for having a good basketball conversation. It's all love here. I appreciate you guys having me on and really just great chatting with you guys about life and basketball, really.
Appreciate you, Pooch, and definitely respect everything that you do. JL's, go ahead and sign out, bro.
You know the deal. YouTube.com/Time Show. Check out those episodes. We haven't had newer episodes up on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play as of yet because of the different ways we're recording right now. But those will be up soon, so definitely check out SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and just find the Knick of Time Show on there as well. Also, you get the merch, like the merch behind me, at theknickoftimeshow.com. That is all. Back to you, CP.
Yes, sir. Great, sir. Right. Jay Ellis. And salute to everybody for watching once again, man. Almost 500 people watching on a Saturday afternoon on the East Coast. We definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. #1 show for the fans, by the fans. Jay Ellis, I rock my Mitch Please t-shirt just in case Pooch popped off. just in case he popped off with any nonsense.
Yeah, gotta let
so
him
you
know.
can get yours in the link below. Shout out to Mitch out there in New Orleans hoisting up threes. Remember, this show is available in audio podcast format. Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called. Google Play, Amazon Alexa, and Stitcher. Make sure you guys leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That'd be greatly appreciated. And once again, appreciate it. Make sure you guys catch up on our previous interviews, man. Raymond Felton interview was a smash. Charlie Ward, Xavier McDaniel, Langston Galloway, Rasheed Wallace interview was a classic. Make sure we got a ton of content to catch up on. Make sure you guys do that. We're working on a blockbuster, Jay Ellis. Like I told you, man, the blockbuster announcement is coming soon. So we're working on the blockbuster. Yeah. And it'll be exclusive. If you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, man. Once again, salute all the mods. Dave, appreciate you. John Talento, always in here first. Livingston Mills, appreciate it. Pranav, always appreciate it. Will the Thrill in here, definitely appreciate it. JL, so you want to shout out?
Elixir Flow. I like that name. I don't know why.
Nice.
Shout out to you. Fritz Alisantor, always holding down. John Talento, chat hopping, shout out to you as well. Chef NYK, Nuggy Fresh in the building, shout out to you. This is what I did in high school. I'm beatbox.
A little Rozelle beatbox.
Jay Ellis Hidden Talents. I got a lot of anyway.
All right, no doubt, man. And Eddie, I'm sure there was some Nets fans watching. It's okay, people. You don't have to hide in the chat. We know you're here repping Pooch. We know you're here repping. We appreciate you guys. Man. Show yourselves. So all the Nets fans in the chat should reveal yourselves to us right now. Let us know you in here.
License registration. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. So yeah, you guys have a great weekend.